Just a few hours ago, the Supreme Court struck down affirmative action in universities. It's over. After decades of discourse and culture war nonsense, finally, the Supreme Court has delivered the crushing blow. Yeah, racism is over. Vosh, I thought you didn't like it. Well, it was a band-aid solution and often poorly implemented. Listen, all I'm saying is I look forward to every single white person on the West Coast not being able to get into any of the universities over here, okay? The only reason that UCLA, University of Washington, whatever, are merely 60% Asian transfer students is in fact because of affirmative action, all right? It's over now. Let the floodgates open, okay? It's Neo Tokyo, Neo San Fran Tokyo, or whatever Big Hero 6 had. It's happening right now, baby, okay? Okay, every yellow panic talking point from the late 19th century is about to be rehashed, okay? It's time. Let it begin. Yeah, seriously, it's pretty bad, folks. The way these affirmative action programs were implemented varied a lot from university to university. This ruling just strikes down the ability for colleges to factor race into their application process at all. And on the face of things, that seems good. And I'm not a huge fan of affirmative action. I don't think it's usually a good solution. The problem here is that the people who make university admission decisions are often very racist. And what that means is that their protected ability to add students via legacy programs often means there is a pre-existing bias in favor of white students, which you think you'd want to correct for just to get like par, just to get even results. Likewise, you can make the argument of restitution and reparations. In order for you to correct from a position of bias, you have to implement bias in the other direction. That's what Martin Luther King Jr. believed, certainly. Yes, I still think that a lot of good can be done with income-based affirmative action. Can you believe what their logic was? Oh, the logic of the 6 Supreme Court justices who ruled in favor of this is the exact logic that you would expect from a post-civil rights Republican majority, okay? What would they have done back in the early 60s? N-word, 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 N-word. That would have been their ruling. That would have been the affirmative 6 people. They just would have written the N-word over and over and over and over again. They can't do that now. So now they have to do this big, this faux neutrality, this intrusive thoughts. They have to do this like this fake, oh yeah, well, we've actually moved past racism. So by acknowledging race at all, you're doing the racism. We've seen this a million times before. The quote in the dissent from Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson summarizes it, I think, pretty well here. With let them eat cake obliviousness, today the majority pulls the ripcord and announces, quote, colorblindness for all, end quote, by legal fiat. But deeming race irrelevant in law does not make it so in real life. And having so detached itself from this country's actual past and present experiences, the court has now been lured into interfering with the crucial work that UNC and other institutions of higher learning are doing to solve America's real-world problems. No one benefits from ignorance. Although formal, race-linked legal barriers are gone, race still matters to the lived experiences of all Americans in innumerable ways. And today's ruling makes things worse, not better. The best that can be said of the majority's perspective is that it proceeds, parentheses, ostrich-like, from the hope that preventing consideration of race will end racism. Fantastic stuff. Yeah, I don't even see race, said the conservative Supreme Court justices. Yes, legacy admissions will go up dramatically for sure. I love her flavor. Yeah, no, it's a good dissent. I hear racism isn't very good. It's not good, folks. It's not good. Yeah, we're all colorblind here. It's a joke, I mean, This was a joke that like Stephen Colbert was making like 20 years ago. It's worth noting that it's worth noting this is like critical race theory, right? You know, what is critical race theory? Well, it's not teaching people that black people exist. We live in the shadow of an overarching legal presumption, something that's taught in law schools, that's taught for and by the people who make our laws and litigate them, that laws play out in practice the way they're written. I believe the term is legal positivism. I believe that's the term. Yes, law is a matter of what has been posited. See, the idea that some people have, and by some people I mean liberals, is that law, when written, is like a natural law. It's like a law of the world. It's like a law of physics or thermodynamics, in the sense that as it is written, so it will be. When something is written a certain way, that is what the law is, and it's taken as that, and it's enacted as that, and it's decided as that. If that doesn't make any sense, or that sounds weird, think of it as like legal positivism is the idea that laws in our law books are kind of like rules in a board game, where they're like this. They're not just words on a paper. They're the actual coded text by which you proceed, you know? They exist outside the suggestion of their existence. They dictate and guide behavior beyond just because it should. In reality, of course, this is bullshit. Laws get twisted, deliberately and accidentally misinterpreted all the time. A good example would be the grandfather clause. You know, after the end of slavery, white folk in the South still didn't want black people to vote, of course. And they had to find ways of preventing them from voting without explicitly saying something like, black people can't vote. So what they would do was they would implement poll taxes or literacy tests. Basically, you can't vote unless you have the money. You can't pass this literacy test. Well, you can't vote. Now, a lot of white people also couldn't pass these tests, also didn't have money. So they had the grandfather clause, which is, okay, well, if your grandfather could vote, then you don't have to go through all this rigmarole. You understand? If your grandfather could have voted at this time, like before black people could, then you're fine. Basically, if you're white, you get to not deal with these tests. Now, nothing in these tests specifically mentions race, of course, but obviously the practical effect of these laws was to segregate by race. And critical legal theory, critical race theory, sorry, well, I guess both to an extent. It's just about analyzing laws as they actually exist. Some people in chat are pointing out that I'm misusing the term legal positivism. That means that I'm thinking of a different term, not necessarily legal positivism. Am I thinking of legal realism? What's the term that I'm what's the actual concept that I'm criticizing here? That's where the term grandfathered comes from? Yes. Legal actualism? Is it actualism? Is that what I'm thinking of? We were arguing with somebody who was doing like a logical positivism thing. No, not legal actualism. Legal retention. That's it. That's the theory. Liberals came up with that. Yeah. That's it. There we go. I'm gonna operate in like 40 IQ today. You know, there is some good news. The Supreme Court may be waging a war to make our life worse in basically every conceivable fashion. But they're not fully competent at their job. Because a couple days ago, they failed to institute the worst timeline possible. Moore v. Harper, the big worst case scenario, was not ruled in favor of the independent state legislator theory. That's right, we live another day. A 6-3 ruling. So only 3 of the high priests of the Supreme Court voted to end democracy. Guys, it's fine. It's true that flipping the perspective of only 2 of them on this particular issue would end democracy. But for right now, at least, the system works. Our unaccountable high priests. The dissenting opinion were to dismiss the case, not to rule in favor. Dude, my brain is barely working today. Holy shit. I don't even fucking care. It's misinfo day. I don't care. We're half covering every story, okay? We're half covering every story. I hate having a cough. Dismiss the case was... What did it dismiss the case? That doesn't even mean anything. That's not even real. The Supreme Court's not even real. It's all fake. Jesus.